Hello, boys and girls. Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast here to make you another cocktail. This week's cocktail is the Gremlin, and it is the featured cocktail in today's episode, as usual. We're going to start with a glass with ice. Recipe calls for a mason jar. I'm going to use my skull mug, because that's the way I roll. To that, we're going to add Crown Royal Canadian Whisky. Six ounces, boys and girls. That's a lot of Crown Royal. 3. That might be this whole freaking bottle. 6. Next, 3 ounces Rose's Sweetened Lime Juice. And then you take a fork and you stir. The fork is very important, boys and girls, apparently. There you have it. The Gremlin. Can't drink many of these, boys and girls. It's actually pretty good. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Wish me luck. See ya.
If you're a rule follower, like Greg insists he is, especially when he's intoxicated, then this week's episode of the Scary Spirits podcast, Gremlins, would never have spiraled into the horror film it becomes. Follow 3 simple rules. That's all it takes to live your life with cute little Gizmo. And yet, somehow, every rule gets broken and absolute chaos erupts. Throw in a young and beautiful Phoebe Cates and a 40th birthday for a longtime listener, and we have an 80s party with all the trimmings. But let's be real. Greg might proclaim to be a rule follower, but I think we all know who would have ended up with Gizmo and who would have had to deal with Stripe. Cheers!
Welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hello, boys and girls. I'm Greg.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karen.
And welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast, the podcast that combines the two very different yet highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed. How are you, Karen?
I'm feeling celebratory today, Greg. How are you?
I'm okay.
What? Well, that's not going to match my mood, my vibe.
I don't know. After I drink this cocktail, I may be on the floor. We'll see.
It's something, isn't it?
Karen, I believe this week was your choice, was it? Was it not?
Well, it sort of was, but we have a longtime listener, and I'm sure you've heard us mention her before. I know. First of all, that's crazy. Second of all, she's got a big birthday this week.
Really? We have a longtime listener and it's a female?
And she has a birthday.
Imagine
a big
that.
one. Well, that's all you, Greg. You're pulling them in like honey with flies.
That's it, Karen. Keep buttering me up.
Well, you said you're only okay. I'm trying to lift your mood.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It is Courtney's 40th birthday.
40?
Yeah.
Those were the days, Karen.
I know, right? Ah, youth. And she picked the movie from the year she was born.
And we just let her do this?
We have so few longtime listeners, Greg. We let them do whatever they want.
Okay.
We'll let anybody pick a movie. If you
True. That is true.
Email info@scaryspirits.com
or just comment on a Facebook post, anything.
You just let us
DM
know.
us, just let us know.
You pick a movie and you come up with a drink, we're in.
And Mary, I'm going to get to yours if you're listening, just so you know. I know she requested one a long time ago, but it's a movie that freaked me out. So
Oh yeah. See, it's his fault, Mary, not mine.
It is. But moving on. What film has Courtney chosen for us, Karen?
She's chosen the film from 1984, Gremlins.
So you're saying that 1984 was 40 years ago?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. Because as we've said before, 1970 was 30 years ago. I will die on that hill. Let's just move on.
Okay. Did she pick a cocktail for us as well, Karen? Oh, I hope she has.
Oh my God, she picked a doozy. I said, this can't be real, but apparently it is.
Yeah, I found it. Go on.
The Gremlin cocktail. Yeah, it's on cocktailbuilder.com. So the Gremlin cocktail. So get this, people. You're going to need 6 ounces of Crown Royal Canadian whiskey. Or Canadian
whiskey.
Yes. 3 ounces of Rose's lime juice and 2 cups of ice. And you just throw it all into a mason jar, which I actually have. Check it out. Mason jar.
I have mason jars as well, but I didn't have any clean and I was in a hurry. So I used my skull mug.
Stir with a fork, it says.
Yeah, fork's important, apparently.
And enjoy. So it's a doozy. I halved it. I did not go the full 6 ounces.
I knew you would, Karen.
Well, you know me well.
But I gotta say, it's, we'll get to it.
But wasn't there another drink, something like that was like a Vincent Price?
Probably.
But it wasn't Crown Royal. It was.
We used Crown Royal in something because mine was.
I know I had it, but I can't find it. So I think possibly it evaporated at some point.
What did you use then, Karen? Some other Canadian whiskey?
No, I used bourbon.
Any special kind of bourbon? No.
Just Woodford Reserve.
Oh, just Woodford Reserve. Okay.
Just that.
Yeah, whatever.
It's a sweeter one. I like it.
Pedestrian.
It is at this point.
I use Crown Royal because I'm a rule follower. Apparently.
Exactly.
All right. Should we give our friends and listeners time to make their own Gremlin cocktail in celebration of Courtney's 40th birthday?
Yeah, but they're never going to make it through this podcast if they're drinking that. But please go make it.
Hold on. And we're back.
I think Courtney's trying to knock off our listeners.
Karen, might you have a brief synopsis for us?
I do.
Go on. Tell us all a story from 1984, just like 20 years ago.
I think it's 15.
Go on.
A gadget salesman is looking for a special gift for his son and finds one at a store in Chinatown. The shopkeeper is reluctant to sell him the mogwai, but sells him to him with the warning to never expose him to bright light, water, or feed him after midnight. All this happens, and the result is a gang of gremlins that decide to tear up the town on Christmas Eve.
Thank you, Karen. We are a match. So this is a Christmas movie?
I know. It turned out to be a Christmas movie.
Came out in June, but it's a Christmas movie.
It's more Christmassy than some of the Christmas movies we've done before.
Yeah, probably is. All right, Karen. Tell us everything you really enjoyed about this film from 1984. Had you seen it before, Karen? back in way back
I
in
think I might have seen it.
1984.
I think I might have seen it in the theater,
Ooh, in
actually.
the theater? Were you on a date, Karen?
Probably.
Oh, do you know, remember who your date was?
No, I do not.
So he must not have been very memorable.
Well, no, it was 40 years ago. So I could
Oh,
guess, but I don't
okay.
want to be wrong and disappoint someone.
Oh, I understand, Karen. I totally understand. I wouldn't mind if I went to see, I did not see this in the theater. I know that. I saw it, I rented it from Blockbuster, but I probably watched it with my girlfriend at the time, and I remember exactly who that would have been. Because, I was a committed man, Karen.
I don't like your tone.
Oh, I didn't mean to insinuate anything.
Didn't you? Anyway,
But if I had to do it all over again, Karen, I might have done things differently. But moving
well,
on.
I think we all would do that.
Moving on. What were you pleasantly surprised by? What did you really like? Had you remembered it, or did it all come flooding back to you?
A couple things did come back to me, but I'm not even sure I've seen it. That's why I don't want to say who I would have seen it with, because I'm not
Oh,
100% sure I
okay.
saw it in the theater.
Or maybe you were, busy
No,
and not watching.
and not intoxicated either. That wasn't my gig.
Could you have been at the drive-in, Karen?
No.
Okay.
It's very easy to watch. I think it flows pretty well. It's a little choppy here and there. You can almost see where they edited things out. They left in a little too much. I think it could have been shorter, honestly. The effects were probably really good back in 1984. They're not bad. Some of the deaths of some of the gremlins were rather gruesome, which I didn't remember at all. And not that you're pleasantly surprised by that, but it does make it more of a horror film when you get that kind of situations going. There's some really nice shadow work in it sometimes, a couple of different places. I liked it. Obviously, there's sequel potential. So, of course, I'm going to, not the kind that I like. There wasn't one little furry hairball left in a corner or something. But it was kind of a neat progression to see how when the guy left the Chinatown store, he had very clear instructions of what to do. And as you went down, it's almost like playing telephone. As you went down, okay, then the kid got the instructions. The kid gave no instructions to the science teacher. Like it just went kind of out of control because you had to have all of these instructions in order to keep things under wraps. And they couldn't do that because it just exponentially went out of control. And I will say, I kind of forget that Corey Feldman's a good little actor because he's kind of he's grown into an interesting human being. Now he's a different person, but he was a good actor as a kid.
He's very young in this.
Yes.
He's not in it a whole lot, but when he's in it, I will say he's pretty good.
Young. Yeah. So I'm just saying it just struck me because he's odd now, and you see those like where it came from. That's kind of,
oh yeah. I mean, now you look at it, I'm like, oh, that's why.
well, yes, but he was a good actor. And I'm just saying what I was pleasantly surprised by.
He's a child actor.
Pleasantly surprised by his
It's a hard gig. Child actor. That's a hard gig.
That's pretty much all I got. What do you have?
I agree the effects were mostly okay. There was one or two scenes where I'm like, well, that sucks. It was obviously like green screen or whatever, but it was 1984, right? So I also agree that some of the deaths of the gremlins were a lot worse than I remembered, but they were freaking hilarious, Karen. I laughed and laughed. It was funny. That's what I liked. It was funny. This is a horror comedy, really. It's really a Christmas feel-good horror comedy. Is what it is. I did notice sequel potential. I thought there would be. I was waiting for that. There was this one moment where I'm like, oh,
you want that little tuft in the corner.
Yeah, something to jump out of that liquid, but no, it never happened. But they lingered on it quite a while to make you think that We're
I
going to
agree.
cut away now, but something happens. Just in case this is a huge success, and then it's going to be a whole franchise, as was starting to happen in 1984. I thought the acting was good. I thought Phoebe Cates was fantastic.
I'm sure you did.
I forgot how great she was. Took me right back to 1984, Karen. Telling you. The guy who played the father, he's very good too. He's a country music singer, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Yes, Karen. He was. He even sang during a little bit, and he was a pretty good singer. It was Hoyt Axton was the dad, American singer-songwriter, guitarist, and actor. He was more of a folk singer, I guess, but one of his best-known songs was "Joy to the World," Karen. Although apparently not the Three Dog Night version. So Phoebe Cates was great. The kid who played Billy was good, but I don't know if he's been anything else. Judge Reinhold was good. Dick Miller was exceptional.
Yes, it's always nice to see Dick Miller.
Oh, I love it when Dick Miller's in our movies.
And he was in it quite a bit.
Yeah, he was.
Sometimes he's only in it for a tiny little bit. He had a pretty big part.
And Flo from Alice, Karen.
Yeah, I kiss my grits.
You're showing your age, Karen.
It's all right.
It's probably in syndication now. It was pretty enjoyable. It's fun. You know, took me back to 1984, Karen. Glory years, glory days. Anything you didn't like, Karen? Anything? Anything at all?
It was too long. It was a little choppy, like I said. You could almost tell where things had been edited out. I think Judge Reinhold's character probably had more to do because he just kind of disappeared. I think there was supposed to be more of a conflict there
Probably
over
right.
Phoebe Kate, and he just disappears. There were some long scenes.
He ended up with the better scene with Phoebe in the end. But moving on. You know what I'm talking about, Karen?
Yeah, the different movie. Yeah.
Yes.
But I've never seen that one.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Yeah, I've never seen it all the way through.
Oh my God.
I've only seen the snippets.
Moving on.
The scene of the Gremlins in the bar, way too long. Just kept going. And I get it. It was supposed to be really funny. And there were very pointed references to things that you would think was funny from 1984. But I bet now if you watch it and you're younger, people have no idea what the references are.
You mean kids don't lay on the bar under a tap and
just I'm thinking more of the Flashdance reference. And
yes, there was a Flashdance reference.
But there are things, so that was a little too long. Other than that, I really didn't. It's just sometimes I'm like, okay, I get it. Let's move on. I guess my attention span is shorter than it used to be. And things just kind of abruptly stopped. Like there were storylines that just kind of went nowhere. The mean lady going after the dog, nothing happens. I mean, she perishes, but it's like lots of things were set up and then they kind of just cut out a bunch of stuff. I don't know.
She's almost like the Mr. Potts or whatever. What's the Potter? Mr. Potter. He's almost like she's like Mr. Potter in It's a Wonderful Life. I think they were trying to make comparisons. Oh my, they were telling her to make comparisons because of that.
See, I thought she was like
movie.
The Witch and the Wizard of Oz.
There was a moment where I was like, oh,
I'll get you, Pretty, and your little dog
exactly.
too.
When she said that, I was like, oh, that's a nod to the Wizard of Oz right there. And she did it well. She was very good. I really liked her.
Yeah, she was good. So
she's a crazy cat lady, Karen. You know any of those?
Yeah, I was thinking. I said Greg's going to say this is my future as soon as we saw her apartment.
Do you have a red wig?
I do.
Oh, well, there you go. You're all set. Oh, it's your Mrs. Roper wig?
Yes.
Apparently that Mrs. Roper is a thing. Boys and girls go to bars and dress like Mr. Roper or Mrs. Roper. I don't know.
It's fun.
Moving on.
So yeah, I liked it. Is there anything you didn't like that I didn't mention?
That you didn't mention, though? My main gripe with this film is it's too long. I agree totally. There are a few scenes that are way too long, including the bar scene. Like you said, I know it's trying to be funny, and it does introduce an important plot thing, right? But it was too long.
But even the department store was a little too long.
It was too long as well.
And the
I
whole
agree.
thing about Phoebe Cates and her father, why did that even need to be in there?
Because that's why she hates Christmas, Karen.
Yeah, but even that didn't need to be in there. I mean, it was just because it goes nowhere.
Maybe. You're probably right. Yeah.
Like it
was
just
unneeded, probably.
fizzles. Like, okay, you hate Christmas, but it's not really a plot point.
That helped me connect with her on a
Well, I
spiritual
said
level, Karen.
that's the only reason it's there is for them to have a moment, but it just doesn't go anywhere.
It's true, it doesn't. I bet this was really, really long, the original cut, and then they had to like, this is way too long. We got to cut this down to it. It's pretty long. It's an hour and 45. I'll bet this was 2.5 hours, and they had to cut 45 minutes out. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, because there, like, yes, there are storylines that get set up but go nowhere.
I agree. It did really well at the box office, though.
I bet. Do you have any reviews from the Times?
Oh, Karen. Yes, I do. Would you like to hear one?
I would
Before
love
we give
to
our
hear
cocktail
one.
rating, if there's nothing else you want to talk about.
Well, no, I think we went over it pretty well.
All right. Yes, I have a review from June 8th, 1984, Karen.
Is it Roger?
It is Roger.
Yes.
But first, I have to tell you, this has a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb.
Nice.
And 86% on Rotten Tomatoes at the time I looked. What do you think Google users think? What percentage do you think of Google users approve of this film?
88.
You've overshot it again, Karen. 81.
81, really?
Yeah, less than Rotten Tomatoes, which is an oddity, actually. But that's what it is. And I'm just going to read this whole thing. It's like 5 paragraphs long, but we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, let me sit back.
I started to read it and I'm like, no, I like all this. All right. Gremlins is a confrontation between Norman Rockwell's vision of Christmas and Hollywood's vision of the blood-sucking monkeys of Voodoo Island. It's fun. On the one hand, you have an idyllic American small town with Burger Kings and Sears stores clustered merrily around the village square. On the other hand, you have a plague of reprehensible little beasties who behave like a rodent road company of Marlon Brando's motorcycle gang in The Wild One. The whole movie is a sly series of send-ups inspired by movie scenes so basic they reside permanently in your subconscious. The opening scene, for example, involves a visit to your basic, mysterious little shop in Chinatown, where, as we all know, the ordinary rules of the visible universe cease to operate and magic is a reality. Later on, after a kid's father buys him a cute little gremlin in Chinatown, we have a new version of your basic puppy for Christmas scene. Then there are basic movie characters as the zany inventor, the blustering sheriff, the clean-cut kid, the cute girlfriend, yeah, and of course the old bag. The first half of the movie is the best. That's when we meet the little gremlins, which are unbearably cute and look like a cross between a Pekingese, Yoda from The Empire Strikes Back, like he has to tell us, and the Ewoks from Return of the Jedi, like he has to tell us again, and kittens. They have impossibly big eyes, they're cuddly and friendly, and they would make ideal pets except for the fact that they hate bright lights, should not be allowed to get wet, and must never be fed after midnight. Well, of course, it's always after midnight. That's the tip-off that this isn't a retread of E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Another movie. This is like the 4th movie reference he's made, but comes from an older tradition, the fairy tale or magic story. And then the second half of the movie, after the gremlins have gotten wet, been fed after midnight, etc., they turn into truly hateful creatures that look like the monster in Alien. That's number 5. The movie exploits every trick in the monster movie book. We have scenes where monsters pop up in the foreground and others where they stalk us in the background, and others when they drop into the frame and scare the shinola out of everybody. I don't know what shinola is. And the movie itself turns nasty, especially in a scene involving involving a monster that gets slammed in a microwave oven. Oh, I laughed and laughed. And another one where a wide-eyed teenage girl, Phoebe Cates, explains that she hates Christmas. Her story is in the great tradition of 1950s sick jokes, and as for the microwave scene, I have a queasy feeling that before long we'd be reading newspaper stories about kids who went home and tried the same thing on the family cat, which I think actually happened, actually, now that I think about it. Gremlins was hailed as another E.T. It's not. It's in a different tradition. At the level of serious film criticism, it's a meditation on the myths of our movies. Christmas, families, monsters, retail stores, movies, boogeymen. At the level of pop movie-going, it's a sophisticated, witty B movie in which the monsters are devouring not only the defenseless town, but decades of defenseless cliches. There you go. That's what Roger Ebert had to say. All right, Karen. What kind of cocktail rating do you want to give this film from way, way back in 1984 that Courtney, the birthday girl, picked for us?
I think it's a 3.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
I'd say it's a 2, but it's got some issues, you know. You want to give it a 2?
I was going to give it a 2, but maybe it hasn't aged well. And
No,
it's a 3 now.
I don't think that. I think it's just got
back in the day, I mean, in 1984, I would have given it a 1 probably.
Yeah, I know exactly, right? For sure, a 2 then. But I think watching it.
I said 1, Karen. I said 1.
But I think watching it when we've watched so many other movies that at least for me, I'm starting to see.
And it's not all that
plot inconsistencies, and I mean the Gizmos are freaking adorable, and I want.
And it's horror comedy. It's not really all that horror centric, right? It's not Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's not.
No, it's more like.
It's not a horror Christmas movie. It's more
science fiction almost.
Yeah,
kind of almost. Where like it would be like if aliens came down or something. It's
more like the Star Wars Christmas special.
No, there is a little more horror in it. Well, I heard that was horrific, but
it was horrific, Karen. You never watched it?
No.
Oh,
but
God. Well, you weren't a dude in 19.
Still not one, but
what's true, Karen? Sorry.
I don't like your tone there either. But
sorry, Karen.
I don't know. I don't think it's.
I'm okay with giving it a 3. I mean,
I don't think it's a 2. I think it's a good movie, and I liked it, but I don't think it's.
But if you're listening to us because you're a horror fan,
it's borderline.
It's borderline, but it's funny. There are some gory / gruesome.
I think
there's not a lot of blood in it or anything. There's not gore, but there's implied situations that.
I think if you're of a certain
gory
age,
and funny,
it will bring back some memories for you for sure. If you haven't seen it in a while and it's on and you're looking down, scanning down, it comes up, I would definitely say watch it because I think you will
department stores, Karen.
Yes, like that's what I mean. Rotary phones, department stores,
I know. And they were ahead of time because she had
smoking everywhere
for her phone. She had a cordless thing for her phone, although it didn't work. But
everybody was smoking in the it's just
smoking.
It's just a different time.
Smoking and drinking, as you do in the 1980s. Okay, 3 cocktails.
I mean, if you're gonna make them Gremlin cocktails, that's
like 18 ounces of whiskey, Karen. I mean. It's got to be pretty bad if it takes 18 ounces of whiskey for me to get through the movie.
Maybe if we're going by Gremlin, it's 2 Gremlin cocktails, 3 regular cocktails.
I think it's 1 Gremlin cocktail. Because that's the equivalent of 6 beers in this 1 glass, Karen.
Well,
I
guess when Courtney turns 40, she's go big or go home. She came to play.
Yes, I had the feeling that she is like that, Karen. She don't mess around, apparently.
Nope.
I hope she appreciates our inebriation on her behalf. Happy birthday again, Courtney. All right. Are we ready to get into it? Scene by scene, Karen?
Yeah, are we ready to do that?
Yes. And Karen, you took wonderful birthday photos of her.
Oh, thank you.
I saw those today.
That sounded birthday photo. Yes, her 40th birthday. I wanted to do a cake smash, but she didn't bring a cake. So she wears 40 very well.
She does.
Let's go.
All right. Gremlins, 1984. It's rated PG, Karen. But do you know there's a lot of kickback about the rating of this? And Steven Spielberg suggested to the Movie Picture Rating Association, whatever there, that they come up with another rating between PG and R. And 2 weeks later, we had PG-13.
Wow.
So this probably would have been the very first PG-13 film, but no, because Steven Spielberg said, we'll start something different. And they did. Rated PG for violence, alcohol use, smoking, and foul language. A little bit. No.
Well, there's
nudity.
smoking and drink and there's alcohol use, definitely.
Yeah, no nudity or sexual situations, though, Karen.
No.
Could use some of that. All right, movie opens and there's a narrator, and we learn it's Rand, who is Billy's dad, right? And he's an inventor and he has a story to tell, and he's in Chinatown getting a present for his kid, Billy.
And also trying to sell some of his inventions to the shops there.
That's really what he's there for. So he goes into an antique store trying to sell his latest invention, the bathroom buddy, Karen.
Yes.
And as he's pitching his product there, he keeps hearing something in the background, and he learns it's a mogwai, but he's not for sale because he requires a lot of responsibility. And the guy, the Chinaman there, Mr. Wing, won't sell him at any price.
Yes. And he is the typical magical Asian grandpa.
Mr. Wing?
Yes. He's got the long.
You think he's got opium in that pipe he's smoking?
He's smoking the pipe. He's got long gray hair.
But do you think it's opium in there?
Well, I don't know. I would assume. And one blue eye, like he's blind. It's
like a James Bond character.
Yeah. I mean, he looks cool.
I immediately thought, wow, he's smoking opium. But I'm not sure that people these days would think that. But anyway, Rand is throwing down $100 bills. He's like, how much?
$200. I didn't look that up. I wonder what that was in 1984 in today's money.
Like 10,000?
Okay, well, yes, good. You've covered it.
And Mr. Wing's grandson is the one who guides Mr. Rand in there. And Mr. Wing's grandson, his eyes like get real big when he starts throwing $100 bills down.
Because they need the money, apparently.
And he's upset. So then the grandson says, I'll go outside. I'll come back and see you. And so the grandson ends up selling Rand the mogwai.
Without telling his grandfather, we're pretty sure.
But he does tell him there are 3 rules: no light, no water, and never feed it after midnight.
No bright lights, and sunlight will kill them.
And then we have credits. As I think Please Come Home from Christmas is playing. Is that what the name of that song is?
I didn't make a note of it.
It's like by Ronnie Spector or something, I think, but I couldn't find it.
There is a soundtrack to this movie.
There is, but it's not on it. And during the credits, we see the sheriff looking for a Christmas tree. There are cuts to other scenes, and we see Dick Miller. And
well, it's like the Norman Rockwell scene, kind of, that Roger Ebert mentions. There's a Christmas tree lot. There's a square. There's, a
Burger King.
Well,
Did make a note of the Burger King.
Yes, there is a Burger King, but a guy who plows the roads. The sheriff's
didn't look
trying
like
to
any
get
Burger King I've ever been in, but okay.
There's the sheriff's trying to get a free tree. It's Norman Rockwell-y.
Yeah, Dick Miller's plowing the roads or whatever.
Yeah.
Then we see who we learn is Billy going into the Union Savings and Bank, and he's taking his dog to work with him. Apparently,
yes, he has a VW bug that won't start.
And he has a dog.
Yeah, so they end up walking to work. Named Barney, the dog.
And we see Phoebe Cates, who apparently is Kate, the co-worker. She tells him to sign a petition about, I don't know, something about somebody's rent and trying to, I don't know, because next we see Ruby, who is like a wicked woman, and she apparently owns half the town. She's a real estate mogul or something. And she's carrying a snowman's head through town, Karen.
Yep. The decapitated snowman's
Making
head.
everyone stop for her. And she goes into the bank and just jumps in front of the line in front of everybody. And she wants Billy's dog put to sleep because he destroyed her snowman. This is a special snowman from Austria or some stupid shit. Is that what she says?
I guess, but I said, is this from Alice Kiss My Grits lady? And it is. What was her name? Flo, I think.
Flo. It was Flo.
But she has this whole Wicked Witch of the West before the tornado feel about her.
Mm-hmm. And
she threatens the dog and says if she catches it, she's going to give it a slow, painful death.
And the dog hears this because he's underneath the counter and he unties himself and goes after Ruby.
Yep.
And then Billy gets in trouble for having the dog at the bank because Ruby's like, oh, my heart, my heart.
Yes, she has a weak heart.
Next, we cut to Billy in a bar, which I'm like, all right, now we're getting somewhere.
And he's drawing, which is another, apparently he does comic strips or something.
He's an aspiring comics artist.
Yeah. And so that, again, goes nowhere.
It does.
I don't know if something happened.
Throw in there. I don't know.
Like maybe he made a Gremlins comic at the end. I don't know. I
could see that where it was tied in at some point, but no, it doesn't go anywhere. And then Gerald, played by Judge Reinhold, comes in. Apparently he's like the VP of the bank. We saw him earlier. And Gerald,
Junior VP.
Yeah.
Because he's 23.
He flirts with Kate, but he's on his way up, Karen.
Yeah, he tells him he's going to have Mr. Corbin's job at 25 and be a millionaire by 30.
He probably will be. Or he probably was.
But we find out Kate's working for free as a waitress so that
she has a good heart. She's a big heart, Karen.
Yes, that's where we find out she's a nice person. Billy's a nice person and Gerald isn't. But he asks out Kate.
Yes, he does, Karen. He's kind of sleazy.
Well, it was kind of funny because he says, you haven't seen my new apartment. She says, I didn't see your old apartment either.
That was kind of funny.
That was a funny line.
He's got cable, Karen.
Yeah, remember that?
I'm talking cable.
Ooh. Not everybody had cable back in the day.
Back in 1984? No. You had to be in a major city to have cable. At least they tell me. That's what they tell me, Karen. I don't know. Then we see Billy's mom in the kitchen watching It's a Wonderful Life, and she's like making cookies or something.
I don't know. She's chopping like 8 onions or something.
She is chopping something at this point.
She's chopping onions, and there's a lot of onions.
Yeah. And then Dad comes home, and she seems sad, but maybe because she's chopping onions. I don't know.
And watching A Wonderful Life.
Yeah, true.
But she says they don't want it. She's not going to talk about it now. They'll talk about it later, whatever it is that's upsetting her.
Dad comes home.
And again.
Doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen. Don't know what that was.
But I don't think we saw Donna Reed, Karen, did we? I'd remember if we saw Donna Reed.
No, we did not. But Dad comes.
I like me some Donna Reed, Karen.
I get that feeling. But yes, Dad comes home.
Dad comes home, gives Billy his present, tells him he must open it now. Can't wait till Christmas. He asks Mom to dim the lights with a remote control because everything's remote control in their house.
Because he's
doesn't always work.
None of it works.
Apparently the lights do. So then Billy opens the box and the Mogwai pops up. Very quick. This is the first time we see it. And I almost made a note of what time was, but Dad has been calling him Gizmo, so that's going to be his name, apparently. Mom takes a picture, of course, with a flash photography 35 millimeter handheld camera, because that's what you had in 1984.
No, wasn't it a Polaroid?
No, not this one.
No.
It was like a 35 millimeter,
But the flash was very bright. It was a bulb. Yeah.
And the bright light scares Gizmo. I'm calling him from now on. And then Dad tells them the rules. No light, no water, never feed them after midnight. All right, we get it. Then we see Billy and Gizmo in Billy's room, and I wrote, Gizmo has perfect pitch, apparently.
Yes. He's singing along with the Casio. Is that what those things were called?
Yeah, the Casio keyboard. And he also knows what note should come next.
They're bonding.
Because he's got perfect pitch, and he's well-versed in music theory, apparently. But he doesn't like light. because there's a point when light comes on or something.
Well, yeah, because
falls.
Billy puts a Santa hat on him and then tries to show him in the mirror what he looks like, but the mirror
And the light
reflects the light.
reflects. Yes.
And he falls off the desk, and then Billy
Falls
has
off
to.
the desk into a garbage can. Billy picks him up and then has to bandage his head.
Yes.
And then he goes to the kitchen and gets orange juice, and we see another failed invention.
Yes.
Every time there's an invention, it's failed. And then Pete, one of Billy's younger friends, I guess, played by Corey Feldman, comes in and delivers a Christmas tree, dressed as a Christmas tree, Karen. I don't remember people doing that in 1984.
Well,
Did you have
we
a
saw
kid
him.
come to your house dressed as a Christmas tree, delivering you your Christmas tree?
No, but we saw him earlier when the sheriff was trying to get the Christmas tree for free. He was walking around in the Christmas tree costume. It's kind of funny.
Then Bailey shows Pete Gizmo, and then Pete accidentally spills water.
Wait. Go back, though. So Gizmo's watching an old black and white movie
with
when Pete
Clark
comes
Gable.
upstairs with Clark Gable, and it is called To Please a Lady.
Ooh, To Please
And
a
the
Lady.
reason it's kind of important is it does come back.
I should watch that film.
Not going to say anything. It does come back later in the film.
It does.
So the synopsis for that film is: years after leaving the military, fallen Marine Mike Brannon, who is Clark Gable, has become a notorious midget car racer. When writer Regina hears that Brannon's dangerous moves have led to the death of an opponent, she jumps at the chance to cover the story. After Forbes skewers Brannon's recklessness in print, he is banned from the Midget League. Disgraced, Brannon turns to stunt driving to make a living. Forbes finds herself falling for her scrappy subject. It was released in 1950. It's a black and white film.
Who plays Forbes?
Barbara Stanwyck.
Ah, she was a good-looking woman in the day. I just remember from the Big Valley.
But we do see Clark Gable racing some cars. That's what Gizmo's watching.
Do we?
Yeah.
He's acting like he's racing. Yeah.
Well, okay. But that's what Gizmo's watching.
But Pete spills water on Gizmo accidentally. He knocks over like Billy's
paint,
ink, water, whatever. I don't know.
Whatever the brushes are in. Yeah.
And then fur balls start springing out of Gizmo, and then the fur balls become more mogwai. But the new ones are more aggressive, Karen, I wrote. Gizmo is not pleased.
Yeah. They're not as nice, and they're not quite as cute. And one has a white mohawk.
Yeah. And then we see Dad in the kitchen. Apparently he's working on a card dealer, ? I don't know. He's working on something that deals cards, and it's failing miserably as all of his inventions do. Billy comes in and Dad covers it up, but he tells him he's made an improvement to the bathroom, but he added a razor. But then Billy explains that Gizmo multiplied when he got hit by water. Shows Dad, and Dad wants to market them as pets.
Yes.
Every kid in the United States is going to want one of these.
Sees a golden opportunity. Greg and I are both so excited that you're listening to the Scary Spirits podcast, and we would love to hear from you. Do you have a movie suggestion for us? Or possibly a favorite drink you'd like us to try? Or maybe you just want to say hi. If so, you can email us at info@scaryspirits.com. Thank you so much for your support. Now back to the show.
Then we cut to later that night, and apparently Billy's dog's missing. He's hung up by Christmas lights in the front of the house.
Yeah, which I guess we're supposed to think was the...
Billy blames Ruby. He thinks,
but I think
Ruby.
it's the...
Oh, hell yeah, it's the Gremlins.
Okay.
We don't know what they're all about yet, if you're watching this for the first time.
And I should say that Rand is an inventor and not a very good one, but the wife and the son are very positive and always supportive of his inventions, which I think would be hard to do after a while.
But they do kind of roll their eyes at each other.
But they also roll with the punches.
They give it the old college try every
and
invention.
They always say that's cool, Dad. Like he, you know.
Well, Mom says, well, they work good for a couple weeks. So then we see Billy, and he takes one of the Mogwai to one of the new Mogwai, not Gizmo, but one of the new ones, to his science teacher. And he puts a drop of water on it, and a new Mogwai pops out. So he's just breaking the rules on purpose at this point. And the teacher says he's going to keep it and run some tests on it, as scientists do, Karen.
Yep.
So then we cut to Kate helping Dick Miller out of the bar.
He's had a
I
few
love
too
Dick
many
Miller. He's great.
adult beverages.
He plays drunk like nobody's business. And Dick's talking about how you got to watch out for foreigners because they plant gremlins in their machinery. Never buy anything from China or
Right. Only buy American.
They all got put gremlins. They put gremlins in their stuff. So then they convince him to walk home because he's going to drive home in his plow at first. But
which looks like what's that construction?
It's a Caterpillar.
Yeah.
It's a tractor with a plow on it, basically.
Yeah.
So then Billy walks Kate home, and Kate explains that the holidays are depressing.
Yes. She's Debbie Downer.
She doesn't like Christmas.
And lots of people get depressed at Christmas, and suicide rates go up. And
I'm like, oh my God, I love you, Kate. Go on, tell me more. But then Billy asks Kate out on a date as they're, saying goodbye, and she agrees. And there's a love connection, I wrote, Karen. She seems very happy that Billy finally asked her out.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I got. So then we see the teacher with a needle, Karen. Were you okay?
Barely.
Not a very big one.
Big enough.
But it looks like he's going to inject something, but he doesn't. He sticks the needle in and he pulls it back. Even though it looks like there's fluid in it or something when he's walking towards the Mogwai, but whatever. He draws blood from it. And we cut to Billy watching a horror movie while drawing a picture of Kate. Did you see he was drawing a picture of Kate? Could you tell?
Oh, I did not notice that.
Oh, he was. It was a very good picture.
It was Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1956.
It was.
Yeah.
And the Mogwai want to be fed. The new ones. Billy turns and looks at his alarm clock and it says 11:35. Okay. So he gives them a big plate of chicken wings, Karen.
Yeah, the chicken legs that just happened to be in the refrigerator. 20 of them.
Yeah, which I'm like, they don't have any money. How'd they get all that chicken?
Well, yeah, and their house is nice too. But I would be like, I'm sure that was tomorrow's dinner that the mom probably made.
Then we come back to the teacher, and his clock says 2:20 a.m., Karen. And he tells the Mogwai, yep, I got to go. But he leaves a sandwich, and the Mogwai is able to pull it towards him because it's on aluminum foil. Go back to Billy, and it's still 11:35 on his clock. So this is telling us, there's some foolishness afoot here, Karen.
Yes.
Billy and Gizmo fall asleep. Wake up in the morning, and there are pods, Karen. Just like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Cocoons.
And then Billy notices that his clock power cord has been severed. He's been tricked. Cut to the teacher. There's another pod in the cage. And the teacher explains that it's the pupa stage. And there is a metamorphosis going on, Karen. Lots of big words.
Lots of science words. Changing form and appearance.
Then we cut to Mom making cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Gingerbread man. Dad calls. Mom tries to answer with the remote, but it doesn't work. It's probably the first cordless phone, though. They had it.
But he's calling from the convention. So he's taken the dog, Barney. He said earlier that he would take the dog, drop it at grandma's, and he's at the convention. And
to keep it away from Ruby.
Yeah. And he's a little disappointed at the convention because it's a lot of big stuff like robots.
Newfangled technology.
And he's got this little bathroom buddy. But, he says it's okay. He's being a good husband and dad and calling from the convention.
Cut to the next day. Ruby comes to the bank, deposits a check or something, and she asks Billy where the dog is. She's just being nasty. And Billy tells her it's on vacation. So then we cut to the science class, and they're watching a movie, Karen, about the heart.
Yes.
And we hear a heartbeat.
So they're going over different heart rates of things, like how fast a human heart rate is usually about 72 beats per minute, and elephants is 25. So I looked up which animal has the highest heart rate. And a good guess would be a cheetah's heartbeat.
I have a good guess. I have a guess.
Okay.
I'm going to say a hummingbird.
Well, that's a bird. That's a good guess.
It's an animal.
I looked up mammals. So a cheetah's heartbeat is up to 250 beats per minute, and it can go up to that in just a few seconds. But there's an animal called an Etruscan shrew, the smallest known mammal by mass, weighs in under 2 grams and has 25 beats per second heart rate.
Like a hummingbird, probably.
That's 1,500 beats per minute, which is crazy. And the lowest heart rate is not the elephant, which they said was 25. It's the blue whale. You want to guess how many beats per minute that might
15.
have? The largest mammal has the heart the size of a sofa, and their heartbeats have been recorded as low as 2 per minute.
You know what a hummingbird is, Karen? What's the little shrew thing you said?
1,500 beats per minute.
Oh, it wins. Hummingbird is 1,200. So I was close. I was only 300 off.
Yeah, that's a good guess.
All right. So they're watching a movie. I loved movie days and classes, Karen. About heartbeats.
When they used to reel in the TV when we were kids.
Yeah. Or reel in the movie projector cart. And the pod is in a box. And apparently it breaks open. There's lots of fog. And then the pods all break open at Billy's house as well. Lots more fog.
Yeah. So do you think they were like in a pod for a day? It was like less than a day.
Yeah. It was quick.
It's very fast. But the teacher gets all the bell rings and the kids all leave before, the pod does open. There's Froggy's fog and it falls off the desk, but the kids are all out of the room before he does anything.
Do you know how long it takes your heart to pump a quart of blood, Karen?
We probably talked about that before.
What was in the film?
Oh, I didn't pay attention.
You want to guess?
5 minutes.
10 seconds, Karen. Your heart can pump a quart of blood in 10 seconds. I think the guy in the movie says, I don't know, 5 minutes. And then the other guy says,
maybe that's why I said it.
10 seconds. True that. So you were subconsciously listening.
Yes.
But anyway, teacher calls Billy and tells him that it just hatched. And then Billy just rushes out of the bank. He and Kate are sitting there. Then we see the teacher looking for the creature that emerged from the pod with a candy bar.
Well, he's trying to tempt it with a candy bar.
And we hear it running around the room.
A Snickers, actually.
Is it a Snickers?
Mm-hmm.
That's good eating. Packed with peanuts, it really satisfies. And the teacher puts his arm under the desk with the candy bar.
I mean, shit's getting knocked all over the play, and so he reaches under the desk and shoves the candy bar towards whatever it is.
Trying to coax it out, and then he screams in pain, Karen. Oh, we're not good. And then we see Billy. He arrives. And he finds the science teacher laying under the desk with a needle stabbed in his rear end.
Yeah. See, I understand that. Still mad about the blood test.
They're vengeful little bastards, aren't they?
Yes.
So then Billy tries to use the phone on the teacher's desk, but a clawed hand scratches him. Then it grabs an apple from the table, but it doesn't like it because it throws it back.
Yes. Nothing healthy.
Then he tries to eat a test tube, Karen.
Yeah, he does crunch on the glass.
And then he escapes through an air vent, or it escapes through an air vent. I don't know. Billy goes to the nurse's office in the school and wraps his hand up. And right here I wrote, how did Billy get into the school after hours?
There were still some kids around. When he was walking in, kids were still walking out. A few.
It's pretty dark, though.
Yeah. But he
All
does
the lights are out. There's no nurse there.
No. And he just wraps his hand. I'm like, dude, you need to clean that out. You don't know what's in there.
Then a gremlin pops out of the cupboard where Billy is and then runs through another air vent. So that's the first time we see the gremlin, really. It's a really quick one, but we see it. Then we cut to Billy's house. Gremlins are throwing darts at Gizmo. Mom's downstairs and hears it and grabs a knife and goes to investigate. Billy calls Mom on the phone. He tells her to get out of the house, but then the gremlins pull the phone line. They cut it or tear it.
And you see, it's interesting to see the house is decorated. You can tell he's an only. There's all his baby pictures
What
on
are you
the
talking
wall.
about, Karen?
There's like,
What's that mean?
well, there's his baby
I don't like your
pictures.
tone.
There's his art projects. You see a plate that he's designed.
I didn't even notice.
Well, I'm just telling you, because you only have one kid you concentrate on. So the refrigerator's all his stuff, the plates on the shelf, the baby pictures going up the stairs, all him. It's funny. But she does not leave the house.
I didn't even notice. Yeah, but we hear the song, "Do you hear what I
Oh, yes, we do.
hear?"
So they've turned on the record player. But I'm just going to
Apparently.
say, Mom's a badass. But anyway, Do You Hear What I Hear?
Well, that comes later. We'll get to her.
Is a song that was written in October 1962 with lyrics by Noel Ragney and music by Gloria Shane. The pair that were married at the time wrote it as a plea for peace during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
So it has nothing to do with Christmas?
No, it is a Christmas song,
Oh.
but I would have thought it was older than that. And I wouldn't have thought it was written as a plea for peace during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
They do mention a child or something, and a star or whatever. So
I think it was
kind of a Christmas song.
It's definitely a Christmas song. I think it's based on Matthew's account of the birth.
Who?
But the guy who wrote it was invited to write the Christmas song, but he was hesitant due to commercialization of Christmas. It has sold tens of millions of copies and covered by hundreds of artists. Yeah, Cuban Missile Crisis, 1962. I would have guessed it was way older than that. There you go.
Yeah, I would have too, probably. I don't know. Maybe not. I knew it was older than me. I like it. It's a good song. There's a special place in my heart for it.
Your mom liked it.
I'm sure she did. So then Billy runs home. Mom turns off the turntable and she finds a gremlin eating her cookies. And she's like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, does not stand with Mom.
So she throws it in the food processor and cuts it up. Or it jumps in the food processor. It's licking it or something. And she just like puts the power button in.
I think it's one of the dad's inventions.
It's like a frog in a blender.
Yeah.
Then other gremlins are throwing dishes at her. And I know there's 5, right?
I think so.
So Mom stabs one of them with a knife. And she tells him, get out of my kitchen. This is my house.
And we see they do have green blood.
Well, she forces another one into a microwave and cooks it and it blows up. Oh, and I laughed. This sequence is very funny. I love this part. And then I wrote 2 left. Mom grabs 2 knives. What a coinky dink. And she slices up a stocking thinking there's a gremlin in it because it's moving.
Yeah, she's got some sharp knives.
Yeah, she's got the Ginsu knives.
Yes.
But it's a toy robot. And then Gremlin attacks Mom from the Christmas tree. We see Stripe hiding, which is the gremlin with the mohawk. And then
the white mohawk.
Billy comes home and grabs the sword from the wall by the front door, which we've been beat over the head with several times because every time someone walks in the house, it falls.
Yes, when you slam the door, it falls off the wall.
So he grabs the sword and decapitates the gremlin. Its head goes into the fireplace and burns.
So that leaves 1.
Yep. And then Stripe busts out the window and escapes. So he's the only one left. Billy takes Mom to the doctor's house. No, nothing else happens there. That was worthless.
Well, her face is scratched by one of them.
Just scratched. So. Whatever. That was a worthless scene. And then Billy goes back home and finds Gizmo in the laundry chute. So then Billy's tracking Stripe through the snow, leads him to the YMCA. He goes in and the fire alarm goes off, and then Stripe jumps in the pool.
Wait. So the YMCA,
the Young Men's
Christian
Association.
Yes. Was conceived in industrial London in 1844 when a farmer turned department store worker and his friends gathered to organize a refuge for young men seeking to escape the hazards of the street.
They want to help young men, young boys.
So how old is the oldest YMCA? The first YMCA in the United States opened on December 29th, 1851 in Boston, Massachusetts. It was founded by Captain Thomas Valentine Sullivan, an American seaman and missionary. George Williams founded the YMCA in 1844. That's who did it in London. So I actually worked at it was called Williams YMCA in Cincinnati.
Were you a lifeguard?
I was a lifeguard. I was a Nautilus instructor and a swim instructor.
Ooh.
And
multitasking.
I did. And that was one of the few Ys where people still lived there. There was an upstairs. Really? Yeah. That they lived up at the top. If you went off to the right and upstairs, there were apartments up there, and they weren't young men. The one guy who actually came down and socialized was much older gentleman, very much a gentleman. But then the lower part had pool and the workout rooms and all that. But it was one of the few left that men, and only men were allowed to live there.
I feel like I went to like YMCA camps at some point.
I'm sure you did, and there was Camp Sims down in Milford that I worked at. That was it was an extension of the Williams Y.
Would you have been a lifeguard when I was there?
You never went there.
I did. Camp Sims? I for sure did.
Maybe when you were little.
You were probably my lifeguard.
I was not your lifeguard. I bet you, because by the time I was
way older.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. But you had stopped going by the time I went there. But some of the people from our school did go there when I was a lifeguard.
I'm sure they did. I went there, Karen. Is it still there?
I don't think so.
Oh,
it was hard to find.
I have memories.
You had to go down.
I only went there like 1 week or something. But the memories I have.
Oh, you went to camp there. They did have a camp.
Camp Sim, yeah. During the day. It was a day camp. I didn't spend the night there.
No, you didn't. But we came after the camp was gone.
But we always went swimming.
The swim lesson started at 3:30.
I remember there was a moccasin in the pool one day. A water moccasin.
There's no water
There was, Karen. I'm telling you.
All right.
If only you were there to save us. All right. Anything else about YMCA? We're ready to move on.
Nope, we're done.
Okay. So then Stripe jumps in the pool and there's lots of bubbling and fog, like they threw dry ice in a pool. That's what I wrote. That's what it looked like. Probably how they did it. Big blocks of dry ice. So then Billy runs out of the YMCA and tries to tell the sheriff. Of course, the sheriff and the deputy are celebrating Christmas. They're drunk. They don't blame, whatever. As you do, Karen. So then we see Stripe and a bunch of gremlins running through the street. And this is the bad special effects here, I thought, when they're coming out down the street, and it looked bad. Like green screen.
Yeah, but you get to see there's a lot of them.
Really early CGI. Then we cut to Dick Miller watching TV, and gremlins are swinging from his antenna. He goes to check the antenna. He sees it is bent and investigates sound coming from his garage. Then we see gremlins driving his snowplow, and they drive it through the house. And he's screaming, "It's a real gremlin! It's a gremlin!" And then he and his wife are run over. He gone.
So there is some horror in here. There's definitely some murders going on. There's some killings.
There's lots of murders.
Yeah.
But they're kind of funny murders.
Sort of, but.
Then we cut to a priest trying to put letters in a blue mailbox on the curb, Karen. But they are thrown out. He looks like
the priest from Saturday Night Live. What was his name? Father?
No, it doesn't. Father Guido Sarducci. It does not look like him.
Because he had the hat.
No, but he's a very older man than Father Guido.
All right.
So the letters are thrown back. And then another man comes. We saw earlier. We've seen him earlier in like the bar or something. And he tries to put a package in and something grabs his hand. And then we cut from it. But basically, the next thing I have is gremlins wreaking havoc with traffic lights and making them all green.
Yeah, they're very intelligent in how to cause chaos.
Apparently.
Without seemingly having been in society. They know to cut phone lines. They know to put on records. They're turning all the lights green so that there are wrecks. They have an intelligence about them, which is interesting.
So then we cut back to the sheriff's office, I guess, and the sheriffs are looking at Gizmo, and Billy tries to explain how they multiply. Sheriff gets a call. Bad news. Dick Miller and his wife are gone. Billy tries to warn them before they leave to investigate. Then we see the gremlins at Ruby's house, Flo's house, Flo from Alice's house.
Yes, Ruby.
And then we see Ruby riding down the stairs on her chairlift with her cat, one of her cats.
She has many cats.
She's a crazy cat lady, I wrote. And Gremlin enters the cat door, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Christmas carolers, and she hates them, but they're all gremlins. Then she's appalled and
One of them
herself...
messes with her chair, electronics, and
yeah, the one that came in through the door. Ruby locks herself in, and then Gremlin short circuits her chairlift, so it sends her out a window.
and she lands right in front of the sheriff's car, I
I
think.
know, I laughed. In her chair still. She gone. And the sheriffs see it happen. And then a Santa comes running out, attacked by gremlins, and the police drive away.
They're all over this guy, and they just close the
Drive
window.
away, drive away.
But while they're stopped because Ruby's in the middle of the road, a gremlin cuts their brake lines.
Is it theirs? I couldn't
Mhm.
tell. It kind of looked like the VW Bugs, which is Billy's car.
I think it was theirs.
It wasn't a good scene, I didn't think. It wasn't clear what the hell they were doing because it doesn't come up later.
It does.
Well, I guess it does. I mean, they do wreck. The sheriff's
Yeah,
wreck.
because they can't stop.
But it didn't look like a sheriff's car to me.
Oh.
So then we see Pete shooting gremlins with a slingshot out his window, which is Corey Feldman. And then we cut to the sheriff's panicking and they skid on the ice and wreck the car. So I guess that means
somebody stopped in front of them. They couldn't stop, and then they wreck.
It was bad. It was a bad scene. That whole scene was bad. So then we see Billy getting his VW Bug, try to escape. It starts and he drives away with Gizmo, we saw it earlier and it didn't start, right?
Right. So that was a miracle.
So now it starts. And then he hears reports of mayhem on the AM radio, Karen.
Yeah, it sounds like the gremlins are getting into...
He didn't have the AM FM option on his VW Bug, just the AM. What'd you have in your Chevette, Karen? AM, FM, or just AM?
I don't think there was a radio in the Chevette.
I'm sure there was a radio. Come on now.
Nope, my dad did not buy cars with radios. My mom said once, your dad, it's a box on wheels.
All right. Then we cut to Dad at a gas station. He tries to use the phone. I think he's calling home again. There's no answer. But then he tries to sell the gas station attendant a smokeless ashtray because he's a smoker, apparently. I see, sir, you're a smoker.
Yeah, he's just lighting cigarette after
Well, it's
cigarette.
lucky I'm here. Let me give you my card. So then we cut to the gremlins at the bar. Kate serving them drinks. They're smoking and drinking and eating. And
destroying the place.
There's a Peter Gabriel song playing, and that's all I wrote, and that took like 20 minutes.
Drinking right out of the tap. They're hooligans. They're going down the road to ruin.
It's too much.
Yeah, one guy changes the station on the boom box, and it starts playing jazz, and you get a jazz club for a minute.
You get a jazz club feel for a minute.
Flash dance kind of thing goes on.
Yep.
One of them exposes him, like opens his trench coat to Kate, and she's lighting cigarettes and getting them drinks.
Yeah, so she tries to light cigarettes for one of them and realizes they are repelled by light.
Yes.
So then she flashes her Polaroid at them, her Polaroid one step at them, one by one. So I think she's got eight flashes on that because I had a Polaroid one step. I think there's 8 flashes on one of those bars.
Seems like a lot. But anyway, so speaking of the Polaroid.
Because, it's a Polaroid one step, Karen.
By 1977, that was the height of Polaroid's popularity. It held 2/3 of the instant camera market, despite competition from Kodak.
2/3 of the instant camera? I would have thought it would have had like 75% of the instant camera market.
Around 1979, the sales of instant cameras began to decrease as video cameras and 35 millimeter cameras became smaller and cheaper.
Yep. That's when I got rid of my one step. Probably, if I still had it, probably worth some money.
Probably. They've made a slight comeback a little while ago, the small little Polaroids, but...
Well, I got my son John one when he was a kid. It was a small, but it was like a what were they called? 110s? Like the little tiny cameras? It was more like that, like a Polaroid 110 thing. But
Hmm.
all right. So then Billy arrives and shines his headlights into the bar.
Well, yeah. So she flashes a bunch, like she takes pictures, and they back away from her, and then she can get to Billy.
And then Kate is able to get out, but then the car won't start. Billy and Kate make a run for it, and they run into the bank.
Where the Gremlins have already destroyed everything.
Gremlins are already there. So then we learn why Kate hates Christmas.
Yes, she has her monologue.
Yes, a monologue. It's a big word, Karen. Apparently, her dad tried to come down the chimney one year as Santa Claus when she was 9 years old, but slipped and broke his neck. And they didn't discover him for a couple weeks in the chimney, Karen. I hate when that happens.
Just seemed like an odd thing to put in there.
It was. So then Billy and Kate leave the bank. Next thing I have is mayhem and destruction. They find the Gremlins at the movie theater watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And the Gremlins sing, "Hi ho, we're off to work we go." And
they know all the words.
I was shocked that Disney let them use this, that film.
It's true. I didn't even think of that, but you're right.
Well, it was 1984. I don't know. It wasn't that.
But they do like to sing, these little Gremlins. So
Yeah, so Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was a 1937 animated musical. So maybe it's not in the public domain yet, right? Is it?
I don't know.
I know Mickey Mouse is. I'm not sure the seventh. No, I don't think Snow White is. Winnie the Pooh is currently. So they had to have Disney's permission to use it. So I was shocked. But anyway.
Well, this isn't is this a Disney film? It's not a Disney.
No,
film.
It's a MGM
okay
thing, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's what the title said, right? Yeah, Warner's Brothers. It's a Warner Brothers film. So anyway, they find the Gremlins at the movie watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They sing hi ho after we go. All right. So then Billy finds a way to fill the movie theater with gas, which I mean just happens immediately. We have no background about that at all.
They go to the boiler room.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Billy lights a rag on fire and he and Kate run out. Which if the room was really filled with gas, that would have been it right there. But anyway, Gremlins see them behind the screen because they run behind the screen and chase after them. They cut through it with their claws. Billy
that was kind of a cool scene. That's what
it was a cool scene, but if he lit the thing on fire and it was really filled with gas, that's all it would have been done. But anyway, Billy is able to secure the back door and they run away as the theater explodes. They go. But we did see Stripe eyeing the store across the street that had candy and neon on the and the light.
Yes,
in the window.
The department store. Yeah,
so he left before it all
happened. Yeah,
we see Stripe over there with a bunch of candy in his hand, or Kate does, and then they chase after him. They break into the department store and try to find Stripe, and then Billy and Kate share a moment. I think they kiss right on the lips, Karen. And then Kate goes to try to find a light switch.
Yeah, he said, go try to turn the lights on.
She starts turning everything on the fuse box. And as she's doing that, she turns on a fountain that's in the store. I don't know.
Yeah, we're, but that comes back later.
But then we see Spike throwing saw blades at Billy.
Yes.
And Gizmo's with them this whole time, but he escapes.
Well, he's with Phoebe, or he's with Kate. She takes Gizmo up to that room, and then
he gets out.
Yeah, he leaves his backpack.
And then we see Spike hurling sporting goods at Billy because they're in the sporting goods department.
Yeah, he's hitting him with the pitching machine balls, which would hurt.
Yes, and tennis balls and everything else they can find. And then Gizmo sees a skylight. And then Spike, Spike shoots Billy with a crossbow. And then he comes at Billy with a chainsaw, which is an electric chainsaw, which is identical to the one I own, Karen. Billy blocks it with a wooden baseball bat. And then I wrote, Gizmo rides in on a remote-controlled Barbie car, ? Is that what he's driving?
I don't know if it's remote control Corvette? Or I called it a Barbie car too, because it was pink, right? Mm-hmm. But that's where, so in his mind, he's hearing the quotes from the movie he watched earlier.
Yeah, he's a race car driver.
Yes.
Then we cut to Kate throwing all the breakers on the fuse box and eventually flooding the store with light. Spike is blinded and is dragged by the chainsaw until it is unplugged. Then Spike finds the fountain and a gun, Karen.
Yes.
Apparently it's loaded because, you keep guns loaded in the stores.
Well, yeah.
In case someone wants to try it. Then we cut to Dad driving into town and their dog jumps out of the car and into the department store where Kate and Billy are with all
Yeah,
the
Barney
grown-ups.
knows where Billy is.
Then Spike tries to shoot Billy with the gun at the fountain. And Spike puts his hand in the fountain and there's lots of fog and he starts like freaking out like he's going to like pop a bunch of more gremlins out. And then Gizmo arrives. Spike tries to shoot him as Gizmo pulls the cover on the skylight.
Yes.
Light hits Spike and he begins melting.
Yes.
It burns. It
I'm
burns.
melting.
I'm melting. Then Dad arrives and they wrap Gizmo up in the scarf. And then a Spike skeleton jump scare I wrote because it pops up. And
one last hurrah.
One last hurrah for Spike. So then Billy, Kate, and Dad watching the news. Mom too.
At home. They're back at home.
Mr. Wing arrives. And Mr. Wing has come to take Gizmo back. And he scolds the family. He tells them they are not ready.
He's not happy. Yeah.
Lots of, you people do what you do to all of Mother Nature.
Yes. They get a talking to.
Yes, they're scolded. But then Gizmo wants to say goodbye to Billy. And I got a little verklempt, Karen. I did.
And he does, bye, Billy.
So Mr. Wing tells Billy that one day maybe he will be ready. Dad gives Mr. Wing a smokeless ashtray because he would use it for his opium pipes, I assume.
Everybody's sad.
So then Dad says, and then we have a prologue from Dad, really, as we see Mr. Wing leaving.
Which was some bad special effects. He was walking away. There was a full moon. It didn't look like the town at all.
It didn't. But
No.
Dad says, when your electronics go on the fritz, to turn on all the lights because there might be a gremlin in your house.
Dun, dun, dun.
Credits, the end. All right, Karen. Comments on the gremlin cocktail?
It's
I have a little left.
It's something.
Not totally evaporated, but
Yeah,
almost has.
It's gonna sleep well tonight, that's for sure.
Probably will, Karen. I'm not like a whiskey drinker, right? But this is surprisingly good.
The lime juice really adds something to it, I think.
It does.
Tempers it somehow.
Yeah, I agree.
And I added a lot of ice, so that always helps.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I was surprised how good it was the first sip I took. It was like, huh, all right. I get a little whiskey.
You knew you could do it. Yeah.
I'm in.
I can totally handle this.
I could do this. I think Courtney's trying to make me drunk.
I think she is trying to get us both drunk. I don't know what that says.
She's a troublemaker.
A 40-year-old troublemaker.
40 years old. 4 decades. Almost a half a century. All right. Anything we learned today, Karen?
We learned about the YMCA, a little bit about Polaroid cameras.
We haven't mentioned the Village People once, though.
I know. We were very restrained.
Oh, there you go. You're welcome.
Animal heart rates. Do you hear what I hear? Origin. I think that's it.
I wrote down something to please a lady.
Talked a little bit about Snow White.
It's about To Please a Lady. I wrote down
that's the Clark Gable movie that he was watching.
Good. Thanks for clarifying that.
Wasn't just a command.
Yeah, I was wondering, what? Did I miss something? Okay. Are we ready to move on to the next film, Karen?
I guess we'll let go of the celebration and move on. What do you got?
Well, we can't celebrate all year long.
Sure we can.
Well, we can. Is it my choice next week, Karen?
Yes. What do you have?
The movie I have is Trick or Treat from 1986, Karen. Because we're getting really close to Halloween, Karen. It's less than 100 days. It's like 80-something days by now, I'm sure.
Is that a remake or an extension or?
No. It's a own film, Karen.
Oh, it's completely different than.
Completely different than the good Trick or Treat.
Okay.
Trick or Treat. This is Trick or Treat. So they're different.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought it was connected somehow. My bad assumption.
No,
Okay.
not so much.
All right. Do you have a drink?
I do, Karen.
Excellent. What is that?
The drink I have is called It's Cold Gin Time Again.
Wow, that's quite the name.
I know, right? Well, you do want to know why I picked Trick or Treat?
Sure, let's get into that.
Because our next episode comes out August 21st, and Gene Simmons' birthday is August 25th, and he is in this film.
Oh, boy.
Gene Simmons from the band Kiss, who had a song called Cold Gin.
Gotcha.
That Gene Simmons sang, but Ace Frehley wrote, because Ace is the best.
Wow. Okay.
So, would you like to know how to make the It's Cold Gin Time Again cocktail?
I can't wait to find out.
So we're going to need, recipe calls for 2 ounces of Kiss Cold Gin, but I'm just going to say use any gin, because whatever.
Okay.
F you, Gene Simmons. And a half an ounce of elderflower liqueur, which I have. Half an ounce of lemon juice. 1 ounce simple syrup. Half an ounce of blue curacao. Soda water. And 5 blueberries.
Ooh.
Yeah. And the instructions say to rim a highball glass with black sugar and ice, but whatever, you do you.
Black sugar and ice?
Yeah. I don't know. So we're going to, in a mixing tin or a mixing glass or a shaker, combine blueberries and lemon juice and muddle hard. Karen, we're going to muddle hard. As you do. Then we're going to add gin, simple syrup, and elderflower liqueur and shake vigorously. Then we're going to strain into the rim glass and top with soda water and blue curacao. And then I assume enjoy.
So you don't add ice to the drink?
Ice is in it.
Okay.
Rim a highball glass with black sugar and then add ice. So ice is in it.
I thought when you said it, you said rim it. That's why I couldn't figure out. How do you rim something with ice? Gotcha.
No. You don't rim it with ice. Right. You add ice.
Okay.
Karen, look how much of this cocktail I have left.
I understand.
I'm drinking like 5 ounces of Canadian whiskey. Some of it is evaporating, though, as I'm taking a break.
Yes, of course.
So there you go. That It's Cold Gin Time Again. I love that song.
Maybe we can sneak it in.
And it's funny because Gene sings it and he doesn't drink. He never did drink. But he sings it and it's about drinking gin. But anyway, that's next week, Karen.
Can't wait.
Be prepared for lots more of his information. You're welcome, boys and girls.
So exciting.
Anyone you need to thank this week, Karen?
I'll thank our listener. People like Courtney.
Long-time listener, Courtney.
Yeah. There's a lot of podcasts out there. Thanks for choosing ours and spending time with us. Who do you need to thank, Greg?
Thanks for listening while you mow your yard, Courtney.
Yes.
We love you, don't we, Karen?
Yes, we do.
Karen, I need to thank the great people of the states of North Carolina and Virginia.
Awesome.
And, of course, the band Verse 13 for providing all the music in the Scary Spirits podcast.
The music definitely makes the podcast better.
Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly. And happy birthday, Courtney.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening. Want to keep in touch? Check out our website, scaryspirits.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Scary Spirits Podcast. Find us on YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at info@scaryspirits.com. To help us grow the podcast, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We really do appreciate your support. And as always, please drink responsibly.